Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time, as well as some modern releases I've recently finished. The modern release I want to look at today is Remedy's Control. I referenced this recently in my Alan Wake video, and I wanted to talk about why Control is so special and why it really brought me into the Remedy universe. So I remember watching a video review of this game and thinking, wow, this looks like an amazing third-person cerebral type thriller game. And I thought everything about the review made the game look spectacular and phenomenal. And it happened to come to PlayStation Plus like the very next month for free. So I decided I'd jump on it. And I got the game and I downloaded it. And I had an absolute blast. And this game blew me away in so many different ways. The first and foremost is the bonkers story. Now I talked about how Alan Wake was a little bit bonkers. This is bonkers to the extreme. This is the craziest thing I've ever played. You play as Jesse Faden, who is just some person coming to the Control headquarters who is looking for her brother who was lost a long time ago to some paranormal incident that happened. She finds her way to the headquarters of the Control, this weird place that deals with paranormal activity, essentially. The fact that she was able to find it in the first place is a mystery to most people inside. She walks into the place, she tries to find any sort of life within, and she finds the main office of the director of the Control building and finds out that he is dead. And there's a pistol next to him. Doesn't look like any pistol you've ever seen. It's a really special weapon that's only available in this place. And when you pick it up, you get all sorts of weird flashes of like things that have happened and things that don't actually happen, but maybe you did. It's very hard to explain. The flashes that happen in this game, these little flashbacks, flash forwards, flash presents that happen in this game are really weird and interesting and really play with your expectations and the way you view what's going on, the way you view time itself. So she picks up this service pistol and essentially becomes the director of the Federal Bureau of Control. The previous director clearly shot themselves, and now you have been chosen by the pistol itself to be the new director. Without really knowing anything about what's going on, you step in and start running this place. You find out pretty quickly it's incredibly dangerous. Paranormal activity clearly has a lot of negative sides to it, a lot of things that are going to attack you. And you get some abilities early on. So you have this pistol that you use to defend yourself from these people that have been taken over by this dark presence. It's not too dissimilar from the darkness in Alan Wake, but this time they're not exactly the same. You don't actually have anything to do with the darkness itself until some of the DLC that you get into much later. And I'll talk about that in a minute. And these people have been taken over by some malignant presence that's been going on, happening in the Federal Bureau of Control. And it has to do with these altered world events that happen. And an altered world event is something that happens where they, a possessed object or something appears in the real world and you have to go and take care of it. They'll send out a team to go and find the object, see who witnessed anything, talk to them, question them. The whole Men in Black type thing. If you're thinking Men in Black, you're absolutely on the right track here. And it just gets weirder from there. You have these possessed people, these taken over people. They float around in the air. Sometimes they just walk on the ground and shoot weapons at you. They have all sorts of different abilities. You'll gain abilities yourself. Early on, you get a flying capability where you can jump up into the air and glide up to a certain point, and then you can hover for a long time until you start to descend, and you descend nice and slowly, or you can drop at any point and stagger that. You have a lot of freedom of movement in this game, which is really cool. There's a lot to explore in this game. There's a lot of layers of verticality that you need to explore to find secrets, to find new areas. It really gives you a lot of options in terms of how you explore this world. It's really fantastic. The service pistol itself also gets many different variations that you can unlock by completing certain objectives, by doing certain missions that you're given by people that you eventually find in the Federal Bureau of Control that are still alive and still operating. You can get all sorts of different ways. The typical pistol just shoots regular bullets. You can get one that shoots more like a shotgun, so it's much more effective at close range. You have one that you have to charge. It becomes like an armor-piercing bullet, and that becomes relevant later on for some of the enemy types that you encounter. All sorts of crazy things that you can do. You'll also learn more telekinetic powers, like being able to bring pieces of the ground off of of the wall, the ground, the ceiling, and take pieces off of it and chuck it at people. You can also pick up items in rooms, and once it gets strong enough, you can actually pick up whole bodies. If they're weak enough, you can actually just take them, destroy them, and then throw them back at people. You also get things like being able to pick up a bunch of rocks at the same time and create a sort of shield for you. And that's the kind of thing that goes on in this game, and it's very normal for the people that are in the Federal Bureau of Control. If they've never seen what you can do, what Jesse can do here, they've likely experienced it through something else. They already have seen an altered world event object that does something similar. They're studying stuff like that. Nothing really seems to faze these people that have been here a long time. You'll meet lots of really interesting NPCs. They give you side quests. They give you main quests. They'll tell you that this area is overrun. You need to go take care of it because we can't. We're getting taken out by the dozens. We don't have a whole lot of personnel. Sometimes you can even summon personnel to come and fight with you, but you are the main protagonist for taking out all of these threats because you have all these abilities, because you're the director of the Federal Bureau of Control. Now, everything that you go through from each area in this building, the building is known as the oldest house, and it's this expansive, enormous place with tons of different floors and buildings that you can go into within this building that becomes something completely different. You walk into it and it's like, this is the waste management area. It looks like a bunch of piping and everything. You'll go into another area and all of a sudden you're in a vast expanse, just like this empty wasteland with things floating all around. You find another place that looks like a complete replication of a place that you already recognized from your childhood. Stuff like this happens very normally, it seems, for all these people. You'll find other areas that become like a maze. It's really spectacular. And the way that Remedy was able to write this story and write it so it kind of flows together and makes sense, even when it doesn't really make sense, it gives you enough pieces of information that you can follow the story all the way through. And as you pick up side pieces like research papers, notes from people, you find hidden objects that give you more context into what's going on in this world within this building. You start to recognize the bigger picture coming together. You'll, again, like Alan Wake, you'll get pieces out of order and you kind of have to form it all together in your own mind and figure out what's going on. And I really like that kind of writing style because it makes you always guessing what's going on. I don't like to be able to guess the twists at the end of movies and games and TV shows. I'm usually pretty good at it. So if your twist is any kind of predictable, I'm probably already there, even halfway through the movie or the show that I'm watching, the game that I'm playing. So when something can keep me on my toes constantly, it really surprises me and makes for a much more enjoyable experience. And that's what Control does. I could sit here and talk about the plot and what you can do in this game until I'm blue in the face, but it would not do it enough service. It's just wacky and weird, and everything that you learn and as you continue through this place and learn what it means to be the director, you just experiencing it yourself is really the only way to get it. You're constantly looking for your brother, like I said previously, who was taken in an altered world event. He was Jesse suspects that he was like taken away and abducted, not like killed or lost or anything like that. She assumes that he's still in there, and he does end up being in there. And it's your job to try and figure out how to reach him because something's different about him, and the whole story revolves around you getting to him. There also were some DLC packs that came out, one that actually focuses on Alan Wake himself, and I made a lot of Alan Wake fans really excited because they thought the property had been abandoned, but it turns out it's just connected with the Control universe, the Remedy universe here. You actually get a trip through Alan Wake's writing. For me, it was the first time I experienced anything with Alan Wake. I was actually going to go through the remastered version first, but then I just decided I wanted to really dig down and finish Control, and it's brilliant. It's just like Alan Wake, but even better because they have more time. They've had more time since the original release to update their writing style, the engine that they're working with. It turns out to be a really spectacular DLC pack. And the other one is actually really fantastic too. The biggest gripe I had with Control, and it only came from a completion perspective. There were a couple trophies that you had to get by accomplishing a certain number of side objectives. And some of the side missions were kind of ridiculous. They like would be kill 5 enemies with this weapon, getting only headshots in a row. and it's really difficult to do stuff like that. Fortunately, you can cycle through. You don't have to stick with some of these side missions, but you had to do a bunch of them. I remember slotting out how much time it took me to do one, and I needed like 12 more. I was like, it's going to take me probably 4 or 5 hours to finish this last thing that I need to get for this trophy. Other than that, this game is really special. The combat is really fluid and interesting. The way that you can just pick up things in the environment, the ability to telekinetically pick something up. If you're focused on something, you can see like an outline of it. You can say, I know I can pick that up right now. But if there's nothing around you, you'll just pick up pieces of the environment itself. Like I said, pieces of the ceiling or the floor. And what's really special about this game is how destructible everything is. If you shoot something, it will start to crumble like you actually shot it with a high-powered whatever weapon that you're using at the time. And I really have to give Remedy a lot of props. This game is several years old now, and it's one of the best engine playgrounds that you can play with in all of video games. They do a spectacular job with making this world destructible. So when you pick up something from the ground, it actually breaks a piece off. You can see what happens for it. And the whole world is like that. There's a lot of things that can go on at the same time. You can have a ton of enemies mobbing you at the same time, mini bosses and stuff, and the world will still react to every little hit from you and from the enemies. It's pretty spectacular, and I love stuff like that. Little details like that really make a game feel more immersive and more interesting. And for something like this, where they built this entire world, this entire universe in Remedy's own universe here, having stuff be so have such strong attention to detail is just incredibly impressive. It makes me want to play it more. I finished the entirety of the game, all the DLCs, got every trophy for every single DLC as well as the main story, and I had an absolute blast. I think I probably put about 50 hours into this game, maybe 60. It's a beefy game, and it will give you exactly what you put into it. The more you put in, this game constantly rewards you for your efforts. And I just can't say enough good about it. The combat is spectacular. You'll never have a weak combat experience. It's always updating. Like, there's new enemy types, new bosses and sub-bosses that you have to encounter. They'll never throw you just a really passive challenge. You will always be on your toes with this game. I'm going to give Control, the Ultimate Edition, a platinum rank and my highest degree of recommendation. Thank you so much, and I will see you on the next one.